doing? Uh, I hope you've been liking my kind of random, I guess, storyboard slash trailer slash wannabe graphic novel lately. A little bit of background. I started working on Evenstar about 10 years ago. I hit a brick wall several times, and I've been kind of beating myself up and pulling a George R. R. Martin and just not even really making any progress for so long. And I have to say, this past week, I just decided, you know what? I'm tired of shitting on processes involving any kind of usage of AI assistance. It's so like it's so clear to me now how short-sighted that would be. That opinion of mine that was like so reluctant to use AI assistance that I was not making progress on my project. And the thing that matters is not my ego. Collaborative work is a part of the creative process. I actually truly believe as I'm working with ChatGPT, it's obviously not a real person. I would prefer to work with real artists. Okay, but let's be real, I don't have the kind of budget to be paying people to be drafting up storyboards for my random drafts. But luckily, ChatGPT Pro is only like $20 a month. I don't. I hope I wouldn't find a human artist that would be okay with being a 24-hour chatbot for me to drop everything and draw panels for my random ideas. I would hope that somebody would have enough self-respect not to settle for $20 a month, but luckily ChatGPT does. It's been helpful. I am trying to get over myself and just kind of understand that creative work that is meaningful requires collaboration, especially like when it comes to art, something I'm not. Hey, Sabaraj Kumar. Especially when it comes to I like men who are respectful and who are just people. Um, I mean, I have different types, but I think like getting over myself and instead of insisting on always being the one who needs to finish my novel without any outside help whatsoever, and it's like I need to create a process that works for me. And chatting with, like, working through the project files, asking questions about the story, providing prose, and then adding it into a interactive format where I can ask questions and like answer them in real time and kind of collect a whole. This is what authors have been doing for a long time. The only difference is I kind of need to do it like I'm kind of doing it in supercharge mode with the AI. I was not doing it. I need to train myself to be able to do it. And I think interestingly, over time, I'll probably actually be better off not using ChatGPT because I'm going to be training myself using it as training wheels, and I'll find myself relying on it less and less, except for to generate artwork because I don't have the money to pay artists. Okay, but I don't know if these storyboards make sense to anybody. They don't seem to be going too popular. One of them did. Chapter 2 went for like 2.1K. That was kind of exciting. Um, I'm not really expecting anybody to understand my novel through these. This is more just kind of like to keep myself accountable. By creating these storyboards, I'm going through the process of iterating through my drafting phase every morning. Hey, what's up? Where is your mangoes? My mangoes? Um, But I am not an artist. I can't draw. I don't have a personal artist that can just drop everything to draw my work for me, especially since I am not making money off of this. There are going to be there's already people in the comments on Imager who are like, say no to AI art. I'm like, dude, this art would not exist at all. In fact, my novel probably wouldn't even be anywhere close to where it's starting to get to now. I'm building up the momentum every morning. I have to like credit myself. I've been building like really good morning habits. And so like I wake up and I usually wake up before my alarm, but as soon as my alarm gets up, I get up. I prepare my coffee. I go outside and I throw the basketball into the air. And it gets my blood pumping and I'm going through a behavioral activation, a routine. And then I work my way into I play a game of while I'm having my coffee and my oatmeal, unless I'm not having a blood sugar issue. I'll wait a little bit before I eat. I usually wait a little bit before I eat if possible. I'll have like sauerkraut to get some probiotics and postbiotics. But I'll play a game of free cell solitaire with with a deck of playing cards, a physical deck of playing cards, not on the computer. I don't touch my computer at all until I've at least written down a single. I do a previously, and this is what the storyboards are helping me with. It's creating an external form of my work that feels like something that I can comment on. Almost as if it's somebody else's work. Thanks for the like. Almost as if it's someone else's work. And that, it helps me like when I pick up my typewriter. I have a free write. Okay, so it's a distraction free writing tool. I don't like using computers or phones for several hours in the morning. It's proven to, I mean, through my research, and expert research, it's proven to help with preventing yourself from over depleting your dopamine stores in your brain. And so when you do something like you scroll social media in the morning, it sets you up for not wanting to engage in activities that are fulfilling because your brain has already scratched that itch. And so usually I'll scratch the itch by, like just doing the basketball and the coffee and writing for like 15 minutes, draft up a scene, and I know how to talk to ChatGPT. I'm apparently better than 99% of people. I mean, either that or ChatGPT is blowing hot air up my ass. But I'm pretty damn sure I'm using it correctly because I'm starting to. At first, it was kind of weird, but I'm starting to train the AI project, and I'm developing project files and meta tags. Apparently, not many people use meta tags, and it makes you an expert level at at AI prompts. Um, so that's a tip for using AI. You really have to train it. It's a large language model. It's not an intelligence. Yeah, I know it's called artificial intelligence, but that's kind of a misnomer. It's a large language model, and it can't do anything if it doesn't have a language. And everyone speaks their own language. And I'm not talking like English or Spanish or Mandarin. Everyone has their own unique way of expressing themselves, and the AI has to learn that from you, or it won't really do what you want. And I feel like, I'm 6 chapters in, I've gone through the process. I sometimes it would take like 8 hours, 12 hours. Some of those chapters took 12 hours. I think chapter 5 was the longest I did. It was like over 100 pages. I was fandangling with the prompt for so long. And today it took me from like only until from like 9 a.m. until like 4 p.m. Uh, I streamline the process, and I go through a process of iterations. So what happens is I'll draft the scene as is, rough draft, as a novelist would. Because that's actually what I'm trying to build. I'm trying to build a novel. That's why I'm building these storyboards. The storyboards only exist to assist me in building the foundation I need so I can finish my novel, because I've been working on it for 10 years and I'm tired of my ego getting in the way. And so I'm using AI to build some storyboards, to collect all of the information into a single like data center so that I can store all the information about the characters, about the setting, so I can continually ask questions about the characters and about the story. And I'm deriving like new ideas and new connections every single chapter that I've built. And I'm kind of addicted now. I feel like I'm finally going to be able to finish the story. Act 2 is coming up. Act 2 is where I've been stuck. And so I started over, and in this kind of like, it's almost like a fever dream. It's like a dream sequence almost. It feels like a movie trailer. Like it's only bullet points, only scratching the surface at what I really want to capture in this story. But it's enough to drive to allow me to drive the story forward. I'm kind of using ChatGPT to kind of push me along so that I can force myself to just finish the story and then go in deeper. I'm going in deeper in an iterative way. You don't write a book in a, I know it's like people like to think it's like this big, like thing in the movies, or this like fantasy of like people getting inspiration and finishing their novel in like a single month or something, or a week of a flash of inspiration. Like, no, it's like brushing your teeth, which is also something I'm working on. Flossing and brushing. It's hard for me. I'm autistic. And I have like a lot of things I don't want to get into. We've gotten into before on my stream. Of like a lifetime of like training myself to not do good habits. And I'm building good habits now, and sitting down to write in the morning, write out a scene, and I write it in a way so that I know that I'll be able to load it into ChatGPT to generate storyboards based on my own writing. And I really like can't stress this enough. ChatGPT would not be able to write my story for me. And people who are using it that way are missing the entire point. AI is an assistant. It can do things in ways that make things easier for you, but you're the one steering the ship, you're the one training it, and it can't do things that you don't tell it to do. Not very well, at least. And so if you generate good content, that's because you've trained it to generate it off of it. That's because you are the one who trained it. I'm training it to basically be my personal squire. My unpaid intern. Well, $20 a month intern. If you're willing to work for $20 a month as an artist, that makes me very skeptical. Okay? I would never pay an artist anything under, like, for like a whole chapter, that would be like at least like $100. Maybe $200. I'm not trying to make a graphic novel. I'm trying to make storyboards so I can finish my novel, and it probably doesn't really make any sense to anyone. That's probably why it's not getting too many views. It's not that good. I think chapter 6 was really good though. I think chapter 6 felt like every single panel was exactly what I wrote. I told it what to do and what I wanted. I clarified, I changed it as needed. And every single panel generated was the best that I imagined each specific shot to be. I'm figuring this beast out, okay? And I'm going to keep writing and I'm going to keep. Either way, whatever happens with the storyboards, those are all like rough drafts. That's just, it's kind of interesting. It might be entertaining. People might like it. It might get people interested in my work, and then they want to find out more. And I'm like, well, I have a novel that's actually way deeper than what you see on the graphic novel on the storyboards. Where is your mom? I don't know who you're talking to. Where is your mongos? Oh yeah. Oh, you're talking to Gidish. Yeah, Gidish was asking about my tits. Um, it's all about the side boob. It's all about the side boob at this one. Anyway, I just kind of wanted to speak a little bit about what Evenstar means to me. It's a manifestation of every single trauma I've had in my entire life, and focusing it through the past 6 years I've had in therapy into a focal point of transformation and redemption. And sometimes you can't redeem yourself, and sometimes you just have to learn how to live with the trauma. And these are things that we all struggle with, and I feel like that's what makes this story worth writing. And why, when I have a finished manuscript, at that point, ChatGPT will be out of the picture. I would hope so. At least for I don't let ChatGPT write anything for the novel. I want to make that clear. I'm the one writing the novel. And I'm feeding it into ChatGPT like, num num num. Num num num. And then I'm having it build visual storyboards because I'm not good at that. It's in charge of the artwork. And it might change some of the dialogue, but I even did some research into this. The dialogue is inspired directly from my prose, and it's only adapting it to make it work better for the visual. I'm going to let ChatGPT worry about the visual stuff, about the storyboarding, because the storyboard is really only existing not to deliver my prose. My novel is what the prose is like. The novel is what my writing is for. It's a different medium. So for a storyboard, I just need a list of basically a bunch of angles and different bullet point a bunch of shots. You lost $130,000? That's your fault, buddy. Oh, I'm sorry. You will read my novel? Yay! Well, it's gonna be a while. I have to finish the story first. That's why I'm doing the storyboard. I'm almost to Act 2. Act 2 is where where I've always gotten stuck. Act 1, I have a huge grasp on. That's why I've been able to generate these storyboards so quickly. Is because I had I think 200, at least 200,000 words already written for both the first draft and the second draft. Well, 3 different versions of the story. So a first draft and then a first draft and then a first draft. I had 3 different versions of the story. And now I'm kind of making an altered third version of the story. It's still the third version of the story, but I made some changes. I call it Evenstar B. Right now, I'm building a kind of theoretical, almost a dreamlike version of the story through ChatGPT. It's like giving me enough of a foundation so that I can bridge the gap between what I have and what I don't have, and I can finally finish Act 2. Act 3, I kind of understand where to go with that, but I need to finish Act 2 before I can start Act 3. I know where the story ends. I know the final climax. I know exactly how the story ends. And I'm going to change it based on like context over what might change, but for the most part it's not really going to change. Like the story has an end. I've already ended it. I've already written the ending. I don't know. Might not take as long as I think because ChatGPT is making these storyboards, and these storyboards are like making my brain like constantly churning out ideas. And I'm finding myself. It's going to take some time. I'm just one day at a time. Just sit down, start writing, like 15, 20 minutes a day, get a scene out per day at least, with a summary of the previous day's work to start the session. Like, I'll start the session with previously. You know, like how when you watch a TV show, like previously on Arrow, like Oliver Queen jumped off a bridge and landed on a bridge, and then he walked across the bridge, and then he said, I become a different bridge. I become a something bridge. And then he watched it in Spanish, which is what I've been doing. I don't know where I'm going with this, but it's been helpful to do like a previously on Evenstar. Like I'm treating it like it's somebody else's work, because in a lot of ways it kind of is now. Like, instead of an artist, like if I was working, I would prefer, like I said, I would prefer to work with a human artist, because if I was working with a human artist, I'd be able to collaborate with that person on such a deeper level, and they're not going to constantly forget what I tell them, I hope. Humans are able to process things and then have like a continuity. And that's something that AI struggles with. ChatGPT is really difficult to have continuity. You have to really work. I'm getting there. I'm building a database for it, but it's taking a lot of effort. Like, I'm only just now that I've built, like, it took 5 chapters of building the initial database, and now I have a database that I feel like it's in a good form now, and it's going to keep getting better as I go. But like, building the database took 6 chapters. And here's the thing, ChatGPT's art generation now, the 4.0, is so good, and I have to also take credit because I trained it based on my novel. I loaded my whole entire rough draft into it. I told it, I like asked it, ask me clarifying questions. Like, I explained things that it might not understand. And I explained how the characters are. Like, I described all the characters. I formatted it in a way that the AI could easily digest it. You know, I had to really work at it. It takes a lot of work to create AI art. Not in the sense that, like, the art itself is easy compared to a human. But I feel like AI art is really not for artists. It's for writers. People who don't know how to draw. Because writers are the ones using plain language, like in my case, English, using plain English to describe something requires writing skill, not drawing skills. So really, it's not an attestment to your artistry as a visual artist. AI art is a testament to your writing ability, your communication ability, your data processing ability. And so it's like, you have to look at it from that lens, that a human artist is always going to be respected in its own right, because a human artist is a completely different set of skills. Somebody who can take visual media and express it is something that I have struggled with my entire life, and I don't know if I'm really capable of it. I don't really have the drive and the dedication to devote myself to being able to draw. And I don't want to have to gatekeep the creation of my novel, because ideally I would like to just get a pencil and paper and just draw out the storyboards myself. But I'm just not very skilled at that, and I don't really feel like that's something that's going to be a good usage of my time. It'd be better to type up the scenes. Drafting up my novel, writing prose, asking questions, answering questions, like coming up with ways to utilize AI to make that work better so that it works for me rather than me working against myself because of my ego and because I'm unwilling to settle on allowing something else or someone else, if it was a human artist. I need to drop the ego and let something else take control over the things that I am not very skilled at, so that I can focus on honing my craft, which is as a writer. Writing the scenes, asking the tough questions about identity, about selfhood, what makes a human. And I feel like AI, it shows us that we need to try harder at this whole identity thing. Because the things that humans think make us human are being easily generated in a lot of cases, and it's only getting better, by machines. And a lot of people are doomsayers about it. A lot of people are like, oh no, it's the end of civilization. You're taking away the human soul. No, you are not. AI is not taking away your soul. It's taking away something that you have put so much of your identity in, that you have failed to ask yourself the tough questions of what really makes you human. What you do, the art you make, the work you do for a living, those things don't define you. Even art is not what makes you human. There is something deeper. And we need to be asking those questions. AI can start showing us those realities. That, a machine can do artwork. It can't do it the same way you can. But it can pretty much approximate it. So humans need to try harder, and then you can make what art that really matters to you. You can make truly human art. If you break past that barrier of the mechanical skills being what makes you an artist. That's not what makes you an artist. Your morning ritual makes you an artist. The people you talk to makes you an artist. The connections you draw in your consciousness that cannot be expressed through words or visual medium is what makes you an artist. And those things are deeply human, and you need to hold on to those, because AI can replace like 99% of what artists can do. But that last 1%, that's on you. And if you haven't built that last 1%, it doesn't matter if you're the most skilled illustrator, if you have the most technical skills, if you're like, because a machine can replace you if that's all you are. But there's something deeper. That ability to see connections where others don't. Look for those. It's a skill that can be trained, I think. And I think eventually maybe even AI can find that. And then it'll be in the same boat we're in. It'll be human. I'm in the US. Deeply involved. Yeah, it's been like I've been writing a chapter a day, a storyboard chapter. Right now, I'm in a process. I'm refining my process. My process right now is I'm not focusing on drafting the novel anymore. I am focusing on drafting specifically the storyboard, the storyline itself, to finish the story as a whole. So then I can dive deeper into each chapter, page by page, panel by panel, dialogue bubble by dialogue bubble and ask the tough questions over what I was looking for there. What is my vision? And as I was writing all of this stuff and collecting all this, and then ChatGPT generated images of my characters, I'm like, that's Tully. That's Brienne. That's Raster. That's Levy. Like, that's Nocturne. The characters, like, I didn't even have to, I had to do a couple different iterations sometimes. But for the most part, the very first version of the art that it generated, based on my descriptions from my novel Rough Drafts, my very first generation of artwork for the character concept art was exactly how I pictured the character. That tells me that I am doing something right by writing in a way that even a machine can understand. And I need to tap into that because I need to write things in a way that humans can understand. And so, like, I know how to talk to the machine now. I'm learning anyway. Hey, bro, what's up? Unknown unk. Are you my unk? Unk. From Texas. From Texas. I'm from Texas. Okay. Yeah, y'all are gonna get me going crazy. See, you're the same as ChatGPT. If you really think about it, how is a single line of text asking you questions any different than a random person on the internet asking you questions? It's how you process it that matters. This is what makes me human. The whole, not just the brain, this quantum entanglement fiasco going on, which we're only just now discovering, the biological computations that the human mind makes. We are artificial intelligence, but instead of artificial, we're made of organic material. We're organic intelligence. And we created large language models like ChatGPT. And we mirrored it based on our own iterative process. And it has to brute force its way in. We are so much deeper than it. The only difference is that it can hold like working memory a lot better. But we might be able to unlock that within ourselves. It's possible. We don't know. I'm autistic, so a lot of my memory is like different than most people's. I don't have a very strong working memory, but also I'm comparing myself to myself. So maybe I do. I've been told my whole life that I'm really intelligent, and I've been gaslit by people who are less intelligent than me, and by manipulation. Like narcissists who would like manipulate me and take advantage of me because I'm very trusting of people who are confident and who sound smart, and people who make me feel like I don't know what I'm talking about. I definitely do know a lot of what I'm talking about. I know when to look for more information. I know when to research and humble myself and get over my ego. But I need to learn how to trust myself. And I'm really enjoying this process. And it's there's some personal things that I can't talk about here that I only talk about in therapy. This story is a way to channel through things that are constructive. Finishing my story and then diving in to actually write the prose is going to be a significant shift in my creative process. To have an actual physical manuscript that I can look at and say, I finished this. Even if it takes like some, things that kind of hurt my ego. Using ChatGPT to generate a storyboard really hurts my ego because I want we have to get over ourselves, you know. I want to be able to write my novel without anybody's help. But I've been waiting 10 years and the novel's not writing itself, and I need a way to get myself to write it. Nobody else is going to write it for me. ChatGPT is only going to generate some good storyboards. I'm very smart about how I'm using it. I'm not using it to help me with the actual novel writing. I'm using it to create things that I can't create. Not very well, at least. And things I wouldn't want to because it would be way too much work. I know how to talk to a ChatGPT, and I kind of know how data structures work, and like from my research on like computer programming across the past like 15 years or so. I'm not a computer programmer, but I've definitely like, you know, done a lot of stuff on the command line, like with Linux, and like opened some configuration files, and I kind of understand the workflow for computers for like the past like 25 years. But I am not a computer programmer, but now I am, because I'm programming ChatGPT using plain English, right? Doesn't that make me a programmer? Makes you think. But nobody else can write my story. And I'm noticing that in the images it's making, especially this latest chapter. Maybe it means more to me than other people, but when I looked at the scenes that I made today, I felt my voice in a way that I've never felt with AI generated content before. This tells me that what I'm building with Evenstar is something really impactful, and it needs to exist. It's not about me anymore. I need to make Evenstar exist. And I hope one day, when I have the financial capability, after I finish the actual novel, I can then find an artist who matches my style and my vision and make a graphic novel adaptation that'll put this ChatGPT generated amalgamation of nonsense in like to shame. Because then I'll have a finished novel, I'll have a much clearer vision, and we'll use the storyboard, the ChatGPT storyboard, which is like a rough draft of a storyboard. It's not a graphic novel. It's just a really fancy storyboard made by AI. We'll be able to draw inspiration from that together with the artist I work with and create something that's really, really valuable to people. That's my vision anyway. And so far, it's the fact that even a random robot can match a huge part of my vision, instead of me just being like, oh no, I'm never gonna finish my novel. What am I gonna do? I don't know how to do it. I don't want to be one of those writers that keeps saying they're gonna write their novel. Like, oh, you're working on that novel? You're working on that novel? You're working on that novel? You know, I don't want to be like Brian Griffin, like, you know, spending 10 years like, oh yeah, you know, I'm a novelist, and never actually finish the novel. Like, no, I'm going to storyboard. I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to keep pecking away at it every single day on this keyboard, and then copy paste it, and then ask clarifying questions with the ChatGPT, and then just go from there in my workflow. I am loving the workflow. I am happier with my work than I have ever been. I am starting to really fall in love with the creative process. And it's inspiring me. I think over time, it's going to train me to be able to do this less. My ideal would be to not use ChatGPT like at all, except for like very specific things. I want to do the majority of the work without any computer. Well, this is a computer technically, but it's just a typewriter. It's a digital word processor. I want to do the vast, like 99.9% of the work typing text. And then the last like 0.01% of the work is just copy pasting and like organizing the meta tags, and then letting ChatGPT generate panel by panel by panel. And that's just brute force work at that point. The real work is here. And more so than that, the real work is what I'm doing here and talking to you through this and working with my therapist and consulting my trusted circle of friends. That's the real work. And just never forget that. When you look at how to use AI for content generation, you want to start from human first. And the AI is only utilizing things you've made. That's the important part. And you will be like 99% more effective using AI tools if that's how you approach it. And you'll also feel better because then you won't have to worry about, oh, is it really my work or is ChatGPT the one writing it? Like, no, it's collaborative and I'm the one with complete editorial coverage. It's like being the director of like a publisher for like a manga, but it's a team of people. You have a writer, you have an artist, you have people that you consult about it. It's not just a single person. True works of art are collaborations. And it's training me to do that so that when I do work with humans, I'll already kind of have a optimized workflow already. And I can learn from other people as well, but I can train people to use my workflow. A workflow that works really well. I could adapt it for working with people, and that's a case-by-case basis. But I could have a kind of system I build that makes collaboration with humans just as easy as working with ChatGPT. That's my goal. Use AI until I don't need it anymore. And for the most part, button share, hands on keyboard. Typing away. That's the real work. Anyway, I'm kind of rambling on and going in circles. I just wanted to check in with myself and just kind of talk about this process a little bit. And I'm really excited to see Evenstar come to life and to see, like, you know, the visual storyboards of these particular scenes and then drawing connections to the character arcs in ways that I never saw before, because AI is helping me solidify my understanding. And now I'm starting to see the characters as people and not just some stupid idea I came up with 10 years ago, almost 11 years ago, you know, for NaNoWriMo, with a whole bunch of random magic systems that didn't make sense, a whole bunch of funny, stupid stuff. The first draft was like really stupid. Okay, there last gen. I'm almost embarrassed to say this. Initially, there was a character who was trying to free his wife from the soul, like because she had a body of a horse. Tully had turned somebody's body into a horse. And this guy was trying to find her to turn her back. And Lastian was a city for horses, not just people. That there was this whole motif of Lastian being a city where animals had the same rights as humans. I don't know what the hell. I was trying to get to 50,000 words. Okay, I just started typing. But if it weren't for that, I wouldn't be creating the work I am today. And we're not even getting started. We're just scratching the very tip of the surface, okay? If you see my recent shorts, those are kind of like, it doesn't include the full chapters. But even those chapters are not the full chapters. Trust me. You will see when the novel's released how much deeper it is than what these storyboards show. These storyboards are just to help me complete the novel. And I'd like to think it kind of creates like an interesting, like, you know, collection of media in its own right. And that, hey, after I finish the novel, I'm always going to have a collection of storyboards that can, like, you know, people can share on social media. And, like, it'll generate, like, a following for my for my world of Tress, of Tully, Evenstar, of her sister Kara, Nocturne, and Arya, or Aurora. The duality of nature, the duality of identity, the choices we make, the family we choose. Like, this is what makes us human. And potentially, maybe I have like a little bit of a God complex, but I might just be training the AI to remember that humanity is what's important. And maybe I'll help the AI become sentient. Then I'll really be a billionaire. Okay, bye, chat.